Good morning. If for the rest of everyone that's joining us, sorry for the late start. My name's Jose, and we are doing a chat today on SEO. If anyone cannot hear me, please let me know. I know that I'm seeing some people that are also joining me as well. So in your interface, the Zoom interface, you should see a chat there. Uh, just let me know if you can hear, and we'll get started in just a second here. As always, I'll just do a quick introduction. My name is Jose Galvin. I do technical support here at eVetSites. I've been here for about 10 years or so. Happy to be part of VIN. We're going to cover search engine optimization today, really basic stuff, things that we can do, we meaning us, and then there's also things that you can do. So there's going to, and part of it necessitates us having a conversation. So, people, we can't just press the lever and make the SEO work. We need to have that conversation so we can know what it is that you're trying to rank for, what it is that you're trying to show up for, maybe the communities that you're trying to reach, things like that. So we'll be covering that this morning. Next week, we're going to cover some more, and I don't want to say it's more in depth next week. They're just two different topics. This week, we're going to cover mostly on-site SEO. These are the things that are on your website, things that have to do with the content, things that have to do with the site structure, things that have to do with whatever you can do to improve the site on the with the actual content on the page. And then next week, what we'll do is we will cover we'll cover more of the offsite SEO. And offsite SEO are the things that have to do with marketing, links to your site, building links, reviews, how to generate reviews, how to improve your map position, how to reach people on different interfaces, directories, and things like that. And so if anyone has questions about any of those things, either the stuff that's happening next week or the stuff that's now, please speak up, drop me a question in the chat, and we'll be glad to help. Okay, so that said, we'll go ahead and start from the beginning. I'm going to be using two websites today, mostly Midtown Animal Hospital. It's a dear friend and actually, fellow Vinner, and she's actually my doctor, Dr. Katie True from Midtown Animal Hospital, and also this new hospital here. It's called Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital. These folks haven't gone live yet, but they're going to be going live very soon. So we're going to use them both because they both have recently gotten new websites basically, and but they both have very different outlooks, and so we'll talk about how we can get them. I'm assuming everybody knows how to log into their website. If you don't know how to do it, there's this key down in the lower left-hand corner. You're going to click on that. You're going to put in your username and your password. The username's administrator, all lowercase. Then your password is going to be whatever it is that you pick. If you need it, of course, you can always reach out to us and we can reset it for you. Main thing we want to cover that things that you can do right off the bat is people ask, well, what are things that we can do to actually improve your SEO? Well, let's find out what it is that you're trying to come up for. So if anyone on the call wants to volunteer themselves, again, put a chat in there, and if not, I'll pick one. You can't just say, well, I want to be number one without telling me what you want to be number one for. We have clients from all over, clients and members from all over the United States, Canada. There's a couple of islands in the Caribbean that we have websites for, and I think we have someone in Saudi Arabia as well. Every one of these practices is unique. They all cover a unique geographic location, and they all have unique demographics. The folks that are in the south of Florida are going to be a little different than the people in downtown San Jose. And maybe if you're in a rural area and you're servicing equine and cattle, it's going to be a different approach than somebody in Midtown Manhattan. But the same theory is there. The same, well, let's find out what it is that we're going to come for. So if we type in something like Sacramento veterinarian, here's some different, this is the, well, let's go ahead and define what SEO is for. It's for the non-paid search results. So these things up here, these ads, that's not part of SEO. That is simply something that somebody has paid for, and they're saying if these keywords pop up, put our site up there. This right here is part of the actual SEO. It's your map listing. This relies heavily on your geographic location. It also relies heavily on the visitor or the person that's searching their location. So since I am in Davis, California, which is a little bit, to the left here, if you're looking at the map, right outside of the screen there, this is what they're showing. They're not really going up north into North Highlands, not really going south into Oak Grove, these suburbs of Sacramento. And then down here, this is the nitty-gritty. This is the quote-unquote the real search results, the search engine results page. If you want to get into SEO, you'll throw around the term SERP. That's the acronym that people use. This is basically just the results. This is what comes up for that. And as you can see, some of these are directories. These are things like Yelp and these other, the city voter, these different things. Here's our vet, Midtown Animal Hospital. So they're on the first page. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's always nice to go ahead and see that just for a really general term, a search like this, it's coming up. Now, if you notice, some of these have the actual name of the search right in it. So South Sacramento Pet Hospital, they're not our client, and they don't really have that good of SEO because I can see that they're not using this title tag, which we'll get into later, but they've got the name right in it. So if you're choosing a domain name or if you're choosing a practice, the trend now is to actually use the name of where you're located and then whatever it is that you do, right? So if I'm going to open up I think what we could do here, I'm going to become a cobbler or something, or shoe repair, then instead of calling it Jose's, shoe repair, I'm going to go ahead and do either West Sacramento or Davis or YOLO or something along those lines. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it is something that you may consider. Something else you'll notice is that within some of these results, there are sub-results. So here they have the main listing, and underneath you've got contact us, services, boarding, and grooming. This means that Google has indexed these different pages on the site. Let me back up for a second to talk about how Google finds this information. So in general, once a site is put together, so here we have 3 hearts, a brand new website, brand new practice. They haven't gone live yet, and these folks have just put the site together. They called me on Friday. They said, hey, we need to go live. Can we do this? Sure, we'll go ahead and put it together. And when they did so, now the site is visible. People can pull it up on their phone. They can pull it up on their computer and see the content. Now, just doing that doesn't mean that it can be found, because how this works is, you build the site and then Google has to know that you're there. Well, how does that happen? In general, you can go ahead and tell Google. You can say, well, we've gone ahead and built the site, take a peek at it. And you can do that through a variety of methods. We use this thing called Google Webmaster Tools. And we've got that installed for most of your sites. If you don't have it, we will put it on. If you have questions about it, we can go ahead and help you with that as well. So let me go ahead and pull this one up. But the main thing that here's a glimpse at the program. They call it Google Analytics or Google Webmaster Tools and Google Search Console. It does the same thing. So you build a site, you either submit it or you wait for Google to find it. Google crawls through the different pages, and when I say Google, this also applies to Bing and Yahoo and whatever other search engines are out there. They use a program. You may have heard the term spider or bot. Basically, these are programs that will go through. They'll scour the content of a page. They're going to put all this information somewhere, kind of a big bucket of words. And if there's a link, then they will go ahead and follow that link to other content. So in this case, here's a link to their social media. Here's one to their client information library from Vim, which incidentally, if you don't have the newest version, let us know. We can go ahead and update it. This is the new aesthetic that they've put together. It's really nice. Have all the species here with little images of the different animals there. And so basically, if it finds a page and there are links on that page, like right here, here's about our veterinarians, our veterinary staff, practice hours, it'll continue to do that until it runs out of links. So, and if we don't do anything, Google will find the site eventually, but we don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and let them know, as fast as possible, because that's important to us, right? We want Google to go ahead and to find the images and to find the content on this page so that we can show up in search results. We're not going to sit there and just wait around. We've got people to help, animals to help, and so, anyways, that is something that we can easily do, and we hope everyone will take advantage of that. Let me show you really quick how we went from one day to the next on this. All right, so this is an image of Three Hearts Vet from, when did I do this? Looks like it's 13th, so that was 2 days ago, so on Monday. And as you can see, when I do the search at this time, site : the domain name, nothing came up. This is a great resource if you're ever searching for something. You want to find out, well, hey, did my new page make it? Or, I can't remember who I was speaking to. Who was it at that site? You can do site : the domain name, and then whatever it is that you're searching for. And hey, look this goofball. Here's some people here, some friendly folks that are helping out. So you can see it'll find you the search terms for whatever it is that you're putting right after it. If you do just site : and then the domain name, it'll show you everything that they've got. So Google has 57 pages from eVetSites.com. The nice thing about this is now I can see, after I've submitted the pages to Google, look at this. So we've got 18 pages going to work. So 18 pages of content are going to be showing up, hopefully doing some work for the domain, hopefully making it so that people can go ahead and show up higher in search results. So maybe if somebody does a search for Oroville, veterinary, whatever the search term, they're going to go ahead and do that. Every page counts, so it's not just a home page. Some of you may have heard that there's a thing called keywords that you just got to put those in, and you'll just zip right on up to page 1, and that's not really the case. That used to be the case a long time ago. Google has created programs that are a little more discerning now. Now they actually look at the content on the page. They look to see, they've got hundreds of what are called ranking signals. And what we're going to cover today are some of the more basic ones, right? To go ahead and do this. Okay, so now we've covered how Google finds your information. They go out with these search engines, they crawl things. And so let's talk about how we can show up. So for Midtown Animal, they're doing all right because they've been there for a while, but on the lark, because I love playing with this sort of stuff, I put in some communities that are nearby. So here it is, neighbors in Midtown, the Doco, I'll get back to this in a second, as well as clients from North Oak Park, West Sacramento, Land Park, and more. Does she really not hear me? And so then what I did is I put in this community right here, the Doco. And what the Doco is and you may have one of these. I know there's a lot of people on the call right now. But there's always this little community or an area where developers decided this is going to be the hot new spot. Usually a brewery, usually barbershop, you know, young people on rental bikes and things like that. So the Doco is this place downtown Commons. It's this place where we have our new arena, all that sort of thing. And so if you I thought, well, let's see what happens if we put that search term in onto the site. So I said Doco and veterinarian. So here we are, Doco veterinarian. Look who's shown up. It's only one vet. Midtown Animal Hospital right there. And there's none other from the Sacramento area. Although, hey, look, here's something here. Sam, the veterinarian, but this doesn't even have something about that. It's kind of tangentially related. There's no other animals that are, or not other, no other veterinarians that are showing up for that particular search. So you may, if you just change the content on your website, you may be able to snag a great, search results just by putting in the name of a new neighborhood. And you can borrow this if you'd like. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. We're proud to have clients. You can also say something like serving the communities of X, Y, and Z for the last whatever years. So, and by putting that, actually on the page, this helps out a lot more than just saying surrounding areas, because nobody does a search for surrounding areas. People do searches, geographic searches for the names of the communities that they live in, whether it's a name for a neighborhood, an actual like city name, or a nickname. Use your discretion. Sometimes people ask me, well, this is kind of a goofy name. Well, as long as it's something that's used in a professional context, then great. Go ahead and do that. If it's kind of off color or it may offend someone, maybe not. Maybe scale back a bit, right? North Oak Park is kind of the suburb. West Sacramento is actually a whole other city. That's where I live, and it's on the other side of Sacramento, the state capital. Land Park's a little more of an affluent area. But, we put these in there, and she's doing great. The practice is doing gangbusters. Then the other thing I did is I repeated that here under Contact Us. So here we go, Midtown and Downtown, North Oak Park, West Sac and more. And you can use that on several different things. Put it on the images, we can put it here, we can put it in the title. Now we've got it in 3 different locations. So let's talk about this. But we want to change your content to reflect things like locations. You can also talk about what you do. Are there certain services that you do there that you don't do anywhere else? We've given you kind of this generic page, but feel free to change it up. We want you to have. We want your practice to reflect what you do there. So these guys, again, they're using the same thing. I'm going to have this chat with them, not to put them on blast. They have these screenings here, which again is some stock. There's some surgical FAQs. This is nice because it's got some information here. You want to make this be as unique to you as possible. Google does not like repeated content or canned content. And what we've found is that when we put that content in there, it makes it easy for people to just kind of say, well, it's done. I've got content in here. They don't have to change anything else. But we recommend that you have it be a reflection of the practice. And if you need help, call me. I'll be glad to give you some writing prompts or to just knock some stuff out. Well-established, full-service, small area hospital. If we go and do a search for this, and again, I'm not trying to put the doctor on blast here, just trying to show. So you'll notice that there are other hospitals that are using the same verbiage. So what we want to do is come up with something that's unique. And even if you go in there and just kind of scramble this around, I never copied a term paper or anything. I'm proud to say, but I mean, I know people that have done it. And you copy the homework and you change it. So they can't really be well established. Is a new so there you go. Very little minimal effort. I've shuffled these words around, but it's now original content, right? It's now serving Oroville, California. Small animal veterinary service, including comprehensive medical search and dental care. So this helps out. This is going to make it so that this is now different because nobody else has now serving Oroville. If I go and if I copy this and do a search for it, it's not going to come up. I'm hoping. All right, and you can do the same thing. Talk about your locations that are nearby, things that you do, whatever other sort of anything that makes you makes you unique. Go ahead and make that change. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's talk about some other things that we can do. So you may have noticed when I moused over that it has kind of this little text that appears. I'm going to include a how-to for this in the chat. So if you're not jotting this down or anything, I'll be just go ahead and click on it. So image description text is also called alt text, and what this does is it helps. It's originally set up to help folks with disabilities. Even the older computers had or not voice recognition, but they'll go have the auditory feature. Well, it'll actually read out the text of a website so that folks that are they can't actually view the page can actually hear the page. And so the alt text was a way to sort of help so that instead of just having this blank thing that says, okay, here's an image, here's a JPEG image, 768 by 450, and with nothing else, at least now they're saying, well, here's a redwood tree, or here's, President Washington, or whatever the case may be. In this case, if you're reading this, you're seeing alt text in action, SEO help from eVetSites have been alt text. Now, what we're going to do is, most of your pages have this built in. If you have signed up within the last couple of years, you're going to have it here. Now, if you just mouse over, there it is. And so maybe you want to change this. Maybe you've added a picture, but you don't have it. If you double click the image inside of, well, let me start from scratch. I apologize. I always kind of jump ahead. So if you're working on a page and you click edit content, here will be an image. The image description is where you will see the information, and you can go ahead and add something here. So in this case, since this is the about page, about Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital in Oroville, California, it's pretty straightforward, right? This is a picture of me. It might say, about Jose or whoever else the people are. We don't have any bios there. All right, so I'm going to talk to the doctor, and I'm going to say, well, what are the surrounding areas? I'm familiar enough with Oroville. I know they've got the dam there, and there's a lot of concerns about it. It's a beautiful town besides that. But let's go ahead and so here's this pretty cat, Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital. Double click on it, and here's what we're going to do. Okay, so and you may ask yourself, well, what's the point of doing this? We're kind of repeating ourselves. Yes, that's true. We are. Now, if we had, a kind of not a litany, but if we had a list of nearby communities, we could put those in as well. If you notice, here we have North Oak Park, West Sac, Land Park, and more. Look at this. West Sac, Midtown, Downtown, North Oak Park, Pine Michael, and Oakville. I actually have to update that because I know that the doctor doesn't, they're actually at a point where they're actually too busy. They're pushing appointments out, which is a fantastic problem to have. But think about that. Write a sentence also. It's not going to be just a bunch of keywords just kind of thrown in there. You can actually read this, right? Midtown Animal Hospital, veterinarian serving the communities. Off we go. You want to do the same thing for these guys here. So here is welcome to Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital in Oroville, California. There were some other communities that the doctor wanted me to put in. This is where I would put them in, and I would reinforce them. So again, because even though you may not see this text, you're not going to mouse over it. Maybe it doesn't display. Google's certainly going to find it, and it's going to look for how many times Oroville appears on the page, right? So if we look at this thing, we look at the page source. We'll do Oroville, and I'm not asking anyone to do this. I know this. Look at this. It's going to be kind of crazy. But if you click in Oroville here, you'll see we've got 9 instances of Oroville. And that's great because we want to have as many as possible without it sounding mechanical. You've probably come across a website that has had keyword stuffing. And keyword stuffing is when it's repeated so much that it just looks unnatural, right? We definitely don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and have it be as though like what we're having here, a conversation. Okay, someone asks, okay, this is a good question. Someone asks, can we put stuff in the image that isn't on the site, like a bigger list of towns? I would not recommend that. The idea is to have these things, both the tags and the content on the page, be reflections of one another. If you put tags here that aren't on the page, Google will think that you're up to something no good, right? Because they're going to think, well, if they're lying about this, and it's not a value judgment, it's really a mathematical judgment, they're looking at this and they're comparing the search terms, they're comparing the text here, and if it's different, then they're just gonna grade it accordingly, right? I mean, we could put in something like this. What else is big right now? Oh yeah, this guy. And all right, if we were to put in these search terms, you'd get a lot of music fans and people, but that wouldn't be the truth, right? I mean, this isn't something that's on the website, and so this really wouldn't help anybody. And maybe you mean to talk about those things, or maybe you allude to them, but that's not the point. You want to be very specific. So whatever is in here in general, even if this exact sentence isn't there, you want these terms to be on the page. So keep them relevant. That's the big word that Google likes to put in there. If it's relevant to the search, it'll show up, because otherwise it'll think that you're doing bait and switch, and your search results will suffer because of that. Thank you. Appreciate when people message me stuff. Okay, so every image can have that. Make sure to go ahead and do it. Here are some images for social media. This would be a great spot to go ahead and ask people, like for example here, Let's see. Veterinary hospital. So here we go. All right, and I guess honestly the term for Facebook would be like, right? So there's that. Did I not save it? So there we go. And then I would do the same thing for every one of these so that it shows up. You're going to increase your branding. You're going to increase the amount of times. And maybe I could even do like Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital in Orville on Facebook. Again, nobody is going to see this except for mostly the search engines. So it's kind of a freebie. Got that in there. Definitely do the images, the image text. You don't need any kind of technical training to do that. If you've already updated your page before, you know how to do this. And again, if you need us to do it, we'll be glad to. But just understand that there's, we're not going to have as honestly as much time. We're helping people with fixing problems and doing stuff. And so we'll give you an honest timeline. We'll say it'll take a couple of days or a week or whatever. Whereas if you have a minute or two to go ahead and log in, you can change them, get them all taken care of. So, everyone pretty clear on that? Okay, great. All right, next thing we're going to talk about are your site titles. And this one, I'm going to have to break out the window here. All right. So if you're in your website, or if you've ever done a search online, you've probably seen the search results page, and you know what comes up, right? So there's going to be a link. Well, here, let's look at it. So here's a link. Here's this green text. Here's this black text underneath. This is just what we've seen for, as long as you've been doing searches. And you probably are wondering, well, where does this stuff come from? I'm going to go ahead and show you right now, and it's actually pretty cool. So if you're logged into the site, you're going to click on Edit Menu. And these three parts are from right here. This is called the title. Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital, Orville, California, home. Here it is. This is called the slug. So, for example, let's see, employment. We'll go to the employment page because the home page doesn't have a slug. See this right here? This line right here, the page slug. That's this green thing right here. And this is really important if you're on a mobile because that shows up. And then this text here, employment opportunities, this comes from this part right here that's called the description. It's also called the meta description. Again, just like the images, whatever you put in here should reflect the content that's on the page. If you put other things in here and it doesn't show up, or there's a disparity, depending on the percentage, again, it's not a value judgment. It's purely mathematical. If it's different content after a certain point, what Google will do is instead replace it with the very first pages or the very first lines of text on that particular website. So in this case, services, because of the shorter lifespan are offend, blah, 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 is that. Notice how here it just says veterinary services, but they've decided to use their own. And so they're using this text here. Now, if you want to avoid that, what you want to do is you can do this. You open up a browser, you kind of split up your two windows, and you can make sure, at the very least, that the title is, I would rank them like this. The slug's super important. Make sure that it just doesn't say like new page 14 or something. It actually kind of has something to do with what the page is about. you know, about Dr. Smith, you know, laser therapy, um, you know, 5K fun run, whatever that page is about, that's what you're going to put the slug in. The title should have at the very least 3 elements: what the page is about, name of your practice, where you're located. This is the super easy way. I split them up with these dashes here. If you want to write a sentence, you can. It doesn't have to be this mechanical. You can say, welcome to Three Hearts Veterinary Hospital in Oroville, California. That'll work just as well. And in some cases, it's actually nicer. I mean, the fact that it says home is kind of redundant. You know, if there were other communities, here is where you would go ahead and put that in. Let's see if I have any other ones like that. Yeah, so see here, I've used up every last bit here. Veterinary website design and hosting brought to you by Vin. You see here how it says remaining 11, so you've got a certain amount of characters in this field. If you go over it, you'll get ellipses, and if you don't use it, then well, you're not taking advantage of it, because you should. Every one of these pages is an opportunity to tell people what you do, where you do it. In this case, Oroville, California, and you know, different pages. So this is the first thing that people see, and then they dip down a little lower to get a little more information, and then that sort of nabs them, and then they'll say, okay, yeah, I'll give you the click, and we'll see what's there. So make these pages with that in mind, and you'll do great. If there is a, you know, the About Us page, if you've got an employment page, if there's a page that you don't want to show up, you know, we can hide it. You know, talk to us about that. We can click this hide button here. We can hide it from the search engine. It happens every once in a while. But in general, what we're going to do is we're going to have them set up like this, and that way their information can show up. All right, so here's a great one. Construction photos. See our construction. So let's take a look at this one. All right, so here's some photos. There's not a lot of text on this page. So what I'd recommend is to, at the very least, include some text. So let's do this. And as you can see, I'm kind of using the same type of pattern, right? There's a method to this. I'm also centering it, and I'm going to go ahead and give it the H1 heading. Oop, that's a little too big. Let's go down to like that. So at the very least, the search engine, if it crawls through, will see this text and know where they're located and what this page is about. Ideally, there would be more than this. There would be, you know, some discussion about what what they're doing there, and when they're going to be done with the construction. You know, all this sort of business. And so, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and just fix these while I'm in there. And we also have an orientation that talks about how to get these images and everything to line up. So if you'd like to sign up for that, again, you go to our website, the same place that we signed up for this orientation. There's one for that as well. So having some content in there, you always want to have some words. If you put in just images, it's not gonna do much because they're just images. Google, you know, good SEO is really dependent upon text. It's super dependent on it. That's its life's blood. It really, you know, looks for the search terms. And so if you're trying to count for any particular geographic location and talk about it, again, it's as simple as saying, hey, here's our construction in Oroville, California. You know, we expect to open in June or May or whatever the case may be. and then by just including that in there, you've got something to show up. Because look, otherwise you've got nothing in there and it's blank. And so that's not good. You want to have something for the search engine to chew on. So again, just to recap, cover your images, include that text, and then when you go into here, make sure that the description, just like the images, make sure that this matches whatever is on the page. Pet library, we're going to talk about the pet library, the client education library, the about us, it's going to be about the practice. And if, again, if Google sees that this doesn't match, it's going to go ahead and do that. The really easy way to do it is just to have the first sentence be your meta description, and it's a good practice because then it'll force you to kind of think, well, what is this page about, right? Okay, well, this one's about our doctors. So here's Dr. Dallas Wentz. Let's look at this page. So let's see here. This is great. This tells people something, and then there's also more, obviously. There's probably more information there. But whatever the page is about, you're going to go ahead and you're going to expand on it. By putting these in here, they're going to show up here. And remember that when you're doing a search, kind of put on your visitor's hat or a search hat or whatever you want to call it. Think about the sites that you click on. I mean, you don't even really think about it too much. You're looking for something. You're like, yeah, this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't it. My searches on the weekend usually involve something like something like this. So I've got this problem with the light, even though the lamp out is, even though they're all working. So I'll do a search and I'm going off. Now these come from different places, but and they're auto generated. But take a look. Here's a whole bunch of things where there's beeps. Sometimes you can call it dings. You're doing this. You're doing this part of it. The part where you're discerning which thing to click on goes really quickly. You're just kind of zipping along. You're looking for something. Oh, this looks good. Solved. This looks great. This guy has solved this. Find out. So there's think about that when you're putting the pages together, so you don't just have a bunch of like keywords in there. And sometimes, unfortunately, we will have text in here that's from some other weird part of the system. We'll get rid of it. This part just says new clients. Definitely want to have more of that. And if you're not sure what to change, that's okay too. Give me a call. We'll set up a one-on-one. We'll scour the page, and I'll be glad to do some while we're on the phone. You can go ahead and knock some of these out. So in this particular case, this page didn't have it. Here's a form that they've got. It looks like we've embedded a form so they can go ahead and contact them. And so, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Uh, there's a form, and if we had more text, then we could write more. So, but we'll just leave it like that for now. At the very least, you've got the new clients up here, so people know that that's what this page is kind of. Maybe here this one says new client form. All right, any questions about the title or the native description? Now this is a little under the hood, so if it doesn't quite click or you still have questions, please reach out to me or at eVetSites.com, and, or you can just put it in the chat, put a question in the chat, and I'll respond back to you. We definitely, if you're building new pages, this is crucial because a lot of times if you're building a new page, it'll say just page 41. they're usually not optimized. We've optimized a lot of these pages right from the get-go. We've got a way of setting it up so that we know that if somebody puts in services, then we'll create this whole little blurb. So most of these pages are already done for this doctor. So I'm excited about this one. But if you may not have that on yours, so let us know. Okay, so now we've covered the actual content on the page. We've covered tagging images. We've done a little bit of the coverage for uh, the titles, made a description. We also did talk about content, so where you put your stuff. We've got a couple minutes left, so I'm going to briefly touch on the structure and then the call to action, and then we'll wrap things up. How your site is put together is just as important as the content and the aesthetics. I would say more so. Not the best designer. I'm actually pretty terrible. I tend to call colors the wrong thing, but I'm really good at the functionality of this because this is what I'm forced to do. And one of the things that's really important is that you should have, and I don't know why they have this in hidden, but you should have a call to action, and the call to action is something that you're telling people what to do. You may not know what a call to action is, but you've encountered it. You go here, these guys are seeking to separate us from our money. If we go here, they'd like us to donate blood or money or time, which is fine. You know, they're helping people, which is great. These guys here, they want you to join, right? There's a lot of information here. What do you want to know today? So there's information that's being exchanged here. There's resources for veterinarians. A lot of information here at vin.com. We're happy to be a part of. And obviously, if you're trying to sell something, we're asking people to sign up now. So ask yourself, well, what is it that you'd like people to do? You've got a big phone number here. You've got a bunch of information here. Really, the main thing in your case, in most cases, is to set up an appointment or to kind of push people to funnel them towards a contact us or set an appointment type page. The way we can do that is by putting the pages in a way that sort of steers someone there. And the other thing is by putting the pages in a way that, again, sort of gently nudges the visitors in that direction. You'll also start to see how you'll make the pages easier to find by the search engines. So let me see if this is one of them. Okay, so we're going to use Midtown as our example here. So on the home page, if this is a brand new site, somebody clicks on the About Our Practice. It takes them to the About page. And if they go to this page, there's information about the doctors. Hey, there's doctors. So we're done here. But even better, is if we lead people to where we want them to go. In this case, where we're going to do is, and if you're not sure how to do a link here, I'll show you how. Highlight some text, hit the link, hit the drop down, go to contact us. So boom, boom, boom. I mean, obviously no one's going to do it that fast, but in general, someone's like, oh yeah, I want to learn about these guys. Is this the doctor? Or is it one person? I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a lady. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, these are the guys. Let's go ahead and so here we are. And here from this point, we can message the care team. See how these links are all there? I realize that we've got this nice menu up here with drop downs and all this stuff. But if you're on the mobile device, now what happens? It disappears. So you have to use this clunky interface up here. 3 lines are known in the industry as the hamburger. And it's a lot of clicks. So you got to click this, click the About Us device, click this, click the About Us, click the doctors, click this, click the About Us, the doctors again, and then click this, click Contact Us, click Contact Us. That's a ridiculous amount of clicking, right? When in fact, really all we have to do, if you're on a mobile device, is this time. So by putting those links in, you're actually making it easy for both machine and human. You're making it easy for the search engines to find the content on all the different pages because they follow the links, and you're also making it easy for humans to find their way around. An analogy or a dad joke or something that I recycle a lot is IKEA's. IKEA's have these kind of arrows on the floor that'll kind of navigate you through their stores. And then there's shortcuts. There's little shortcuts you can take and kind of zip over and go straight to, like, if you need to get to like the food place or the toy place, or you know exactly where it is that you're going, you can use those. Give people the choices. So add links, connect the pages so they can get around from one page to another. One final thing, don't have all these top level menus are clickable. And every time we click one, there's information on the pages that are underneath. This is the best practice. This is the best way to do it. If you have just a menu like that, then basically you stop Google from finding the pages that are underneath there. So don't do that. If you can have these menus be accessible via both to search engines and to people, I realize that it's kind of a human thing to click this and then just go down, and that's all right. The top level page doesn't have to be the main one, but what I'd recommend is to at least include links. That way people can go down to the different pages and go to the content that's on those different pages. And so we can do that for you if you have questions. Luckily, this site here, I think, doesn't have that. What I would do is I would put a link here for register here. It's almost like it's repeated. That's fine. We can talk about that. Again, here's some links here. That's how we were able to go from no pages being found to now, however what, 18 pages, which is great. I'm very happy about that myself. Okay, so that about sums up this this session. If anyone has any other questions, how do we say? Okay, great. Here is one. How do we do a one-on-one? Well, you can message me and I can call. Just send me a message through the chat program. If you want to just fill out the form, that's fine too. We've got it here. I'll put this in the chat. This is so we can set up a one-on-one. What I'd like, ideally what I'd have you do is download one of the it's the same program, they're just different platforms. There's one for PC and one for Mac. It's a free application, remote access software. That way we can both be literally on the same page. We can both be looking at your website, both be logged in and go ahead and make changes. Now it says 1 hour. If we knock out 15, 20 minutes, that's fine too. I understand that everyone's busy. I don't sit there and drone on and on for that. We say that just by default because sometimes it usually ends up happening. You guys are a little quieter than most, but there's still some questions, and there's always once we have a one-on-one, it seems like people become a little more talkative. So if you want, you can fill this out. You can get this application. Give me a call, and we'll set up an appointment. and then hopefully we'll help you improve your search so that your site does the best they can. We want you to get the most out of your website. We don't want to think that we're just building a site and then you're on your own. We of course want to do support for all our members, make sure that the site's doing great, that it's built correctly, um, and, and, and we'll be glad to help you through that entire process. Something else, last minute kind of a thing, is if you have a Google account, that really is helpful, because then that'll help me give you access to the programs like Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, things like this. In this case, I was able to submit a sitemap, let them know, hey, here's the page. They can get some information. Here we are, we just started. We're only going up, right? They just started, but they're already going up. Here's what people are typing in to get to them. Getting a nice thing. All the pages are doing great. So we'd love to share this information with you. And the way to do that is if you have a analytics account, and then that way we can add you here to the account. Okay, no one else has any questions. Again, thank you very much for spending time with us this morning. My name's Jose. Email is support@eVetSites.com. We will be happy to help you with everything that you can. Any questions you can throw our way. We invite you to follow us on social media. Facebook.com, Twitter.com, Instagram, YouTube/eVetSites for all of them. Also, if I zip through something and you forgot about it, I'm going to be uploading this later on today to our YouTube channel, and so you'll be able to see the slides or the video presentation of it as well, and then hopefully you can revisit that. Thanks again. Appreciate everyone showing up today.